Hey, welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Welcome to today's show. So, Matt, let's jump right into it. There's lots to get to today, but let's start off with this week's 3 stars from around the NHL, starting with your number 3 pick.
Yeah, the third star of the week was Jake Gensel. In 3 games played, he had 5 goals, 6 points, including a hat trick, I believe, against the Anaheim Ducks. He set a new career high in goals this year with his 23rd, passing his career high of 22 from last year in just about less than half the amount of games. So he's on pace for a nice career year. The second star from the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Binnington. The young goalie there had 3 wins, 1 shutout, a .974 save percentage. He's really starting to push Jake Allen for some starting time there in St. Louis. And the first star from the Calgary Flames, Mark Giordano, 4 games played, 3 goals, 8 points. Just adding to that Norris candidacy there as the year goes along.
He's definitely in the running. His name keeps popping up. But a couple things let's talk about from those 3 stars. St. Louis Blues finally getting some goaltending. I don't know if Binnington's going to steal that number 1 job from Jake Allen. But as bad as they've been this year, they're only 5 points out of a playoff spot. But there is 4 teams in front of them. But hard to imagine that they've had this bad of a season and they're only 5 out of a playoff spots. I think that's because the rest of the league's been so terrible, especially in the Pacific Division. But can Binnington steal this number 1 position away from Allen and help St. Louis to continue to move through?
Yeah, I really think so, because if you look at Allen's numbers right now, he's 14-14-4 this year, an .896 save percentage. That's just not going to do it, especially with St. Louis now, because at least the good thing with St. Louis is if they can get on a little bit of a run, they've only played 43 games so far this year, which is the least amount in the Western Conference right now. So if they can put a good string of wins, they're only 5 points back from that last wild card spot, and especially with the way Anaheim, Edmonton, Arizona, a lot of those teams, and even Colorado, who's in that first wild card spot right now, that they're all on those losing streaks right now. If they get on a bit of a run, they could make a late push, but it'll be interesting. But it really comes down to their goaltending there.
Giordano's had a great season along with the top 4 forwards of the Calgary Flames. They've been carrying that team, winning 7-1 last night against Arizona. That Pacific Division, as bad as they've been, the top 3 teams are 3 of the top teams, I think, in the NHL right now. Calgary, San Jose, and Vegas. All of them are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. All of them they're just on fire. Who do you think's going to be the last team standing here at the top when the season ends?
Oh, man, this is the most interesting thing here, because the Calgary Flames, that top line is just like, we can talk about them every show, but Gaudreau, Monahan, Lindholm, and throw in Matthew Tkachuk as well.
They've all got over 50 points already. So.
Yeah, like Gaudreau just keeps going. He's now second place in the NHL in league scoring with 69 points in 47 games. Monahan's in 10th with 57 points, and Tkachuk's right behind him with 54, and Lindholm 53. All in the year. So that top line just keeps going, and especially with they've finally gone with Riddick as their number 1 in net, and that's really helped them solidify that top spot right now in the Pacific. And in San Jose, you got Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson running the show from the back end now. Brent Burns, who recently just played in his 1,000th NHL game. Big shout out to Chewbacca there. Just an awesome defenseman to watch. And Martin Jones is now in second place in wins with 21. And then when you get to Vegas there.
Vegas got off to the slow start, but once Nate Schmidt's suspension come back, I saw something the other day, and I don't know if I remember it accurately enough, so don't quote me, but I believe they're 19-3-1 with Nate Schmidt back in the lineup. Just unbelievable tear since then. They've gotten healthy. Guys like Pacioretty are back. Pacioretty's playing great with Alex Tuck. I know
Paul Stastny.
Yeah, Stastny. Smith's just dropped down with an injury, but Marchessault and Carlson are starting to pick it up. They're starting to look like the team from last year, and I'm excited to see what the game between them and the Winnipeg Jets look like tomorrow night. To me, that's a big headline game, and I know Winnipeg's going to use it as a measuring stick for their game.
Yeah, and especially with Marc-Andre Fleury in that, still leading the league in games played with 41, 26, 11-4, and 6 shutouts, which is 3 more than any other goaltender in the league this year. The guy, I think, is the leading candidate right now for the Vezina Trophy.
A few trades in the NHL the last few days. We're going to touch on the one today to start. The Anaheim Ducks, losers of 11 in a row, and they've said Carlisle is not on the hot seat. Made a trade today with the Dallas Stars, who also have announced some of their displeasure lately, but they've turned the corner. They seem to be playing well. But Devin Shore from Dallas goes to Anaheim for veteran Andrew Cogliano. Fill us in on that, and then fill us in on the other trades from around the NHL.
Yeah, so Cogliano and Shore, I think Shore provides a little bit more offense than Cogliano will. Cogliano, what can you say? It's like, if it wasn't for that suspension, the guy has not missed a game in his NHL career either than that. So he should bring some really good two-way play in Dallas. And then with Anaheim, they're just looking for just a little bit more of an offensive spark with all the injuries they've had. I think they're leading the league in man games lost this year. The Arizona Coyotes acquired Jordan Wheel from the Philadelphia Flyers for Jacob Graves, who's a prospect, and the 2019 6th-round pick. And the Chicago Blackhawks acquired Slater Cuckoo and a 2019 5th-round pick from the Tampa Bay Lightning for Jan Ruda and a 2019 7th-round pick. Cuckoo, former first-rounder for the Tampa Bay Lightning, was on the outs with Hedman, McDonough, and Sergachev all on the left-hand side there playing ahead of him. So it's basically just giving another young guy just a fresh start, and hopefully he can make things work there.
Well, and I think it's a good place for him to be in Chicago. Before we came on air, we talked about some of the young goaltenders from around the league. Guys like Aiden Hill, Binnington in St. Louis, and, of course, Blackwood in New Jersey, Carter Hart in Philadelphia, now Demko in Vancouver. Is this good for the league, seeing a resurgence of youth in net as well as out in the ice?
Yeah, I think it's really good, especially for some of the Canadian goalies that are playing, because we got the old guard there in Holtby, Price, and Fleury, but outside of Matt Murray, we don't really have that big younger number one goalie coming up. So it's nice seeing guys like Blackwood and Hart coming up this year. Blackwood as a .947 save percentage in 9 games played this year. In 2 shutouts, so that's really helped New Jersey, even though he was hurt there for a little bit. But he came back in that game against Philadelphia and picked up a win. Carter Hart, he's 3-5-1, but he has a .916 save percentage, which is, for a Philadelphia goalie, very good, even though they're dead last. But it is nice to see all these younger goalies coming and actually putting up really good numbers to start this year.
Let's stay on the subject of goaltenders. Sergei Bobrovsky in Columbus gets into an incident with – it sounds like he got in an incident with Coach John Tortorella and was sent home, suspended for a game. Came back last night and won for them. But is this just sooner rather than later that him and or Artemi Panarin are going to be moved out of Columbus?
Yeah, so this is an interesting situation to keep an eye on, especially with Bobrovsky. He still has a no-full trade clause with his contract as well. But I think things got heated up because he got pulled in that game against Tampa Bay, and then he didn't return to the bench after he got pulled. So Columbus was trying to keep everything on the hush-hush sort of thing, not wanting to blow it out of proportion or anything. But It will be interesting to see because I don't think Bobrovsky will be back in Columbus next year. I think it's just time for him to move on. I saw there was a story at the end of last year's playoffs or something that they wanted to hire a psychologist to help him with some mental stuff off the ice because of his lack of playoff success. And Panarin is the other guy who's very interesting. I think the we do have rumors about the Rangers being very interested in him, but he's up to 50 points in 43 games this year. And this is a guy that I think Columbus can't afford to lose, being part of that big top line with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Cam Atkinson. I know Columbus has Jonas Korpisalo, a nice young goalie coming up in their system. But, I think Bobrovsky's days are numbered in Columbus. But yeah, it's something to keep an eye on.
Well, Philadelphia loves to recycle some of their old goaltenders. Maybe he'll end up there because they've only used 7 this year. Perhaps even 8. I wasn't gonna really bring this up, but Vancouver, Florida last night. Mike Matheson playing against a Vancouver team that heard it nonstop from the fans since Matheson drove Pedersen into the ice. He got a 2-game suspension, but right off the bat, Bo Horvat tries to fight him. Roussel tried to fight him. Virtanen tried to fight him. Matheson refused every fight. Is that against the code, or you're new school, I'm old school? Let's talk about that situation a little bit. I know it wasn't really talked about that it was, they said that it was just going to blow over, but you could see right off the drop of the puck that Bo Horvat wanted to fight him, trying to just make up for what happened in Florida to show that they've got their teammates back, I guess. But to me, I'm old school. When I see stuff like that happen, it reminded me of the Steve Moore incident where he drilled Naslin, knocked him out for a few games, and then refused to answer the bell for the way he played on the ice. I'm not saying Matheson has to fight everyone. I'm saying he just needs to drop the gloves one time, even if all he does is hold on to the guy to say, hey, I'm here. Yes, I'm sorry. I drilled your star player into the ice. Just answer the bell for your actions. And I was kind of worried for him, thinking at some point that somebody was going to just grab him and start beating him because he wasn't answering the bell. And, in the olden days, that's what would have happened. And the NHL has definitely changed. But does a guy like Matheson, to a new school guy like you, does he have to answer the bell there? Or what comes across your mind when you see that stuff?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that somebody was going to drop the gloves with him. It's just usually when before the games, he had that mental state knowing it's just it's going to happen sometime. And it was very frustrating that he didn't drop the gloves because it's just we see him in some instances where some player from another team did something and then they answer the bell and then things sort of quiet down a little bit after that and things sort of passed a little bit depending on what all happened or whatever. But yeah, it's when you got Michael Haley having to stand up to Gabranson to sort of be sacrificed sort of just so that somebody would fight.
Haley is the penalty minute leader last year in the NHL, and he's not a bad fighter. I mean, it's a pretty even fight between him and Gudbranson.
Mm-hmm. And then you got Matheson on the ice during that fight, and he's banging his stick on the ice in appreciation for Haley. But it's just man, it's just when you get challenged 4 or 5 times, and then especially it's right off the bat with Bo Horvat, I think we were talking about before. I'm just you're thinking Matheson, out of all the guys for the Canucks, I think that would be one of the guys I'd be willing to drop the gloves because at least you get one of the best Canuck players off the ice for a little while. That's a pretty good trade-off there. Though I did a little bit of the Sportsnet shade where they had a Mike Matheson stat showing that he had the worst plus minus in the league right now, and even John Garrett on the color, it seemed like he was going to jump out of the stands and fight him himself the way that he was going there in the second period. But But yeah, it's like you're expecting them to honor the code, but it might just be like the new NHL school right now, where it's not as big of a deal as it used to be.
Well, and if he fights Bo Horvat right off the drop of the puck there, I mean, the incident to me is over after that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, he wins the fight or not, or like I said, even if he just holds on to the fight, it puts the matter to rest. It gets people say, okay, at least somebody went after him or stood up for Pettersson, and he's held accountable for his actions. I mean, yes, he did get hit hard in the pocketbook. The NHL did the right thing there, in my opinion, but even a few years ago, that probably isn't even a suspendable offense that he did. But the more I watch that replay, the more vicious it looks as when he drives him into the ice. And I think he should be held accountable. And the old code was, when you do something like that, you got to stand up for yourself and pay the piper. And to me, there wasn't, he forgot his balls at home and came to the rink, and he looked terrible playing the game because you could tell he was scared that, hey, oh man, I got to fight. But just do it right away and get it over with a guy that's the same weight class as you, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just like you're just expecting it. And I think the other thing that really grinds my gears is when he says like he wasn't angry or whatever when he slammed Pettersson or whatever, like that getting his ankles broken by Pettersson right before that had nothing to do with it. It's just like if you get dangled, man, it's just like you're gonna be pissed that just happened in front of thousands of people. It's just like just answer the bell. It's like that's all you have to do. Just like you just drop the gloves once and then it's over and done with.
Well, it was in Florida, so there was only 500 people in the stands. That's another subject, though. Why don't you finish off today's episode with the last word?
All right, yeah. So just a couple of shout-outs to a couple of retirements this week. Rick Nash, great career, unfortunately ending too soon due to concussions. Over 1,000 games played, 437 goals, 2 Olympic golds in 2010 and 2014. One of the greatest power forwards when he was on top of his game. I think one of the best goals, like outside of that one against the Arizona Coyotes, was when he played against when he was playing for Canada against Finland at the World Championships, and he's got a guy just basically just holding him back, but he's still able to power around the goalie and score. So, and Josh Georges as well, career with mostly Montreal and Buffalo there. Really good defensive defenseman.
Former Kelowna Rocket.
Yeah, there we go. And BC boy too, as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Really solid. Stay at home. Good leader there as well. Retired, and then tonight I'll be putting up most of the highlights from tonight's game. Only 6 games. I got a hockey game myself again this evening. After tonight, I don't have anything till Saturday, so the highlights will be coming out on time for the rest of the week. So I'll put them out until I have to leave, and then I'll post either the rest late tonight or tomorrow morning.
Fantastic. Remember to like on our Facebook page and subscribe on our YouTube. Again, subscribe on the YouTube channel if you just want to watch this show. Each and every episode is on there. But if you like watching the GIFs of all the goals, the fights, the hits, Matt's constantly posting them on our Facebook page. Lots of content there. And we always thank you for your comments. We love the input from our fans, as well as all the likes and shares that all of you have been giving us. So enjoy your evening, everyone. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday on our next edition of B&B Hockey Talk.